Hey everyone, it's me again. It's just gone dark. I've just been told I've got my light plugged in the wrong place. So I'm just plugging my light in. Hold on. I think someone was going to trip over it, or the dog was going to pull it over or something. So anyway, yes, so the dog is around and very likely to join us on the sofa at any minute. So if he does, you'll see him. Okay, so today I'm trying to do what I did yesterday as well. And trying to kind of sit in a way where the light doesn't get my glasses, because it's a complicated topic, so I've got lots of notes and I like to see who's joined as well. So hi Louise, thank you for being here. So okay, so today, following yesterday's, must remember to keep looking down. Hi Jane, nice to see you. Hello. Okay, so you probably loved yesterday's topic as well. Yes, you will have loved yesterday's one. So following on from that topic, obviously today I'm looking at the traits of a narcissist. And hi Jane. So you can help me out if I miss anything. I've got some notes because I'm trying to be very sympathetic here, and there's no way I would want to ever minimize anyone's experience and miss out something that's really, really important. So in this extremely prevalent topic, shall we say, extremely relevant in today's society. We just, thank goodness, I guess we're hearing more about it because we understand more about it now. And I'm quite amazed at the number of people who come to me for various things. And it's all linked to narcissistic parental abuse in their past. And some of them know it, they've worked it out, and some of them haven't. Some of them don't realize until we start to work through. And I suddenly say, oh, sounds like maybe you had a narcissistic parent. And then we work it out. And of course, we discover then that they have a narcissistic spouse as well. So that happens often as well. But anyway, so let's have a look at the key traits of a narcissist. Now, the absolutely defining one, because this flies against, I mean, all of us have the ability to be selfish, to not have empathy, to not really understand someone, or in a moment to be sympathetic to our own selfish desires. Now, we all do that from time to time, and that's just part of being human. That's just sometimes just fighting our corner, wanting what's right for us, or standing up for something that we really, really want. But what most of us have as human beings is an empathy with other people. We hate to see other people hurting. That's why when we're out and there's a car crash, we stop. That's why when we're out and someone falls over, we stop. Or someone drops something, we stop to help. Someone's trying to cross the road who's old, we stop to help. You know, we all have these things that affect us, and as a rule, most of us don't like to see pain in other people. And there are many, many traits of a narcissist. And as I say, some of us will relate to all of them probably at some time in our lives. But the real defining trait of a narcissist is someone who absolutely has no empathy with the feelings, the hopes, the dreams, and just the desire to be themselves of someone else. They have no concept at all of anyone's sense of self or their feelings and their emotions about anything. So this is why I say with the narcissist, you can't win. You can't win. I will talk to you at the end when we've gone through the traits about what you can do to make things better for yourself, but you can't win, as in a narcissist cannot love you in the way that you want to be loved. If they are going to do that by the very description of a narcissist, in that we say that it's someone who doesn't have any empathy, doesn't relate to your feelings, they can't love you. They can't. So when people kind of say, oh, I'm a narcissist, but I love my wife, yeah, I get those kind of comments. I really do. And sometimes when two people are in a relationship, they'll say, oh, that's wrong because my husband's a narcissist and we're fine. Well, it really depends. Has he been defined as a narcissist? Does he just have strong traits? You know, how are they managing this? What are her expectations? What is she doing without, if anything? but when you think of it by definition, someone who is defined with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, is someone who really fails to show these feelings and this support of the feelings or recognition of the feelings of someone else. So you can take love out of the equation. All right. So that's the main trait of a narcissist. Now, I did say yesterday, but I don't know if you caught my live yesterday, that was about the narcissistic effects on a child. So the effects on a child of being with a narcissistic parent, that was yesterday's. That's well worth watching in conjunction with this one. But I was talking about how with everything like autism and all of these personality disorders, Asperger's, that type of thing, any kind of mental illness, there's a scale. So it's not a question of, oh, he's a narcissist, he's not. There's a scale, which is why we take these traits. And quite often people can have 4 or 5 of these traits, and depending who they're with and how that person manages them and the expectations of that person, you can have a good functioning relationship. But as we get higher up the scale, there are kind of 9 or 10 of these traits. Some people say there's as many as 12. It depends how you define them. But as you get further up the scale, where you get to where someone has most of these traits, and especially when you get to the point where you're realizing that they have no empathy, no recognition of your feelings, then that is when we say that someone has NPD, and it's very, very difficult to have any relationship. Those people, they struggle in all of their relationships with their family, their friends. They're very difficult people to be around because they're extremely sensitive, which will go through their work relationships, obviously their intimate relationships, everything suffers. The interesting thing is, of course, that they don't know that it's themselves that's to blame. They have no self-awareness, or very little, but the self-awareness that they have, and again, this is getting into the traits. So the self-awareness that they have is that they are better than everyone else. They are more important than everyone else. They deserve more recognition. They deserve more praise. They do more. They're a better person. This is their perception. They kind of look down on everyone and need huge amounts of validation and appreciation from everyone else, which of course for all the people around them is just so incredibly tedious and draining. And you're looking at this person thinking, can you hear yourself? Do you not see who you are? Do you not really see what's going on here? And that's just horrendous to be around. And of course, most of us choose to be distant from those kind of people. And this is the difficulty as adults. I mean, imagine as children trying to navigate this, trying to work out what you can do around this. It's just, that was very telling for me yesterday, that live that I did, the effect on children of the narcissistic relationship, because I had to really think about what I was going to prepare. And I dwelt on it a long time, and I found it quite distressing to think about children being in that situation. It was very, very hard. So the other thing we have to remember about narcissists is, whilst they come across in this very grandiose, important, very kind of self-important, self-centered, extremely selfish way, and they look as if they have all this confidence, this desire to achieve, to be the best, to have the best, to look the best, all of these extremely negative and destructive, because these things don't come from a good motivation. Like, lots of us have a desire to look good and to be healthy and to achieve and everything else, but it comes from it comes from a desire to better ourselves and to better other people as we do that. For most of us, improving ourselves comes from, we know then that what we're putting out into the world, into our environment, our circumstances, and the people around us is the best version of us. And we just love that we can do that, and that we can add, and that we can just create this abundance and this amazing joy in the people around us. Well, obviously with NPD, that comes from a completely different motivation. Their motivation is purely to see themselves as amazing and to elevate themselves above everyone else, and to put other people down. They will openly humiliate other people, belittle them, put them down, keep them small. And one of the very telling traits of a narcissist even is that their desire is for recognition. It's to be seen, to be successful, and it's because they want to achieve. They want to be. They're normally some kind of. They like to be the entertainer, the center of attention, and they want to be seen to be achieving. And it's all about having rank and status and just being seen in that important, grandiose way. And they will put other people down to get there. They don't care who they destroy, or even if you're their spouse, they are capable of not listening to anything that you want to do or be or have or achieve, in case listening to you and possibly supporting you in your desires affects theirs. It's completely self-centered, selfish. It's very, very distinct. Okay, so that's some of what we have to remember. This is what I was saying. Sorry, I was talking so much. I go off track. What we have to remember is that whilst these people come across as having this extreme self-confidence, sitting behind all this facade of the reason they need all this affirmation, appreciation, and to be told that they're amazing and to feel that they're important and to achieve so much and to be the best, always be the best. They have to be better than everyone else. And underlying it all, of course, is this lack of self-confidence, this very low self-esteem, which is why they're very difficult to be around, because of their low self-esteem and because they need so much appreciation, approval, and affirmation from other people. When they don't get it, they are very, very easily hurt, and they are quite brutal in that. You don't do anything, they just perceive. They have this perception that you've hurt them, that you did something to them, that you meant it, that you've purposely done this, and they will take these very, very small slights that you don't even know you've done, and they build them up into something really big, and before you know it, it's all blown out of proportion, and they're claiming to be really hurt and offended, and you're just like, what happened? I don't know. And this is why they're so difficult to be around, because you just don't know. There's no certainty, there's no authenticity, so you can't manage these people like we can manage the people around us normally. We know what to expect, we know what to say, we know what their triggers are, we can decide to trigger them or not. With a narcissist, you can't do that. It's like I said, I was sharing yesterday how for children, it's impossible. This is why children of narcissists always feel as if they can't do anything right, because the narcissist has two levels. You either have to do enough or you've done too much. You can never be right. They cannot let you be right. They have to constantly be putting you down, making you feel that you are wrong, that you are guilty, that you've done something wrong, because it elevates them. It all comes from their need to elevate themselves. That's exactly where that comes from. So I'll just check. So I'm just going to run through this list. I know that I've touched on some of this as I was talking, but I'm just going to make sure that I haven't left anything out here. I really don't think I did, because in my usual way, I've said quite a lot. One of the things I've got written down here is that they expect unquestioning compliance. And that comes from their own sense that they are absolutely right, that what they want must be the correct thing, that what they want must be important. So if you start to question why they want it or why you should do it, or heaven forbid that you should question why your needs or your wants are not as important or are not being considered. You just can't do that. Yeah, and I think I've covered everything. I'm looking at what I've got written down here. I put that they're behind their facade of self-confidence they're very fragile and vulnerable to criticism. They like to be recognized. I've got it all down here. I think it can paint a very grim picture. We talk about narcissism a lot in society today. It's a very overused word. Sometimes people who are just a bit selfish, someone will say, oh, they're such a narc or such a narcissist. Well, that word, it's being very overused. We tend to use narcissist where we would previously have used selfish. So we have to remember that to be a true narcissist, people have to have these kind of 9 or 10 traits, and the key one is this lack of empathy. We can also recognize people being on the narcissistic scale, and remember that there are different scales, and many people will have 4 or 5 of the traits at any time. Probably traits that come and go. They don't display them all the time, but we're all capable of them from time to time. That's important to remember. And it's only about, I know because we hear it a lot, we kind of thinking what's happening to us, or we're all turning into narcissists. Well, the fact is that really to be diagnosed with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, it's only about 0.5% of the population that ever would be. Other people might have lots of traits, but really if you see them, it's up to you in a relationship to manage them. And I'm going to talk a bit about how to do that. It's interesting, though, of this 0.5% of the population, about 75% are men. I guess that's just because men are more often in a position where they have control. Women are often at home with the children. They lose some of their power and they're more vulnerable. So this isn't my statistics. I'm not saying this about men. I'm telling you what the statistics are, that it tends to be about 75, that of that 0.5, it's made up of about 75% men and 25% women. I know whether it's, we're all a product of our environment. That's very interesting as well. They don't actually know too much about what causes narcissistic personality disorder, but because of the more understandings we have about the mind and how we're formed and how we pick up our traits and characteristics these days, there is a tendency towards thinking that it is very much about the style of parenting. We do see a lot of people, funny enough, I see men who have narcissistic traits, who had narcissistic parents. But the majority of the women that I see are victims in narcissistic parents and in narcissistic relationships once they become adults and they've had a narcissistic parent, or as I shared before, when they've had a role model who was subject to a narcissist, and that is their role model. So I think it's quite complex, but there's very much this there's a trend. We kind of look at why do people exert extreme control in a relationship, which of course is what narcissism is as well, and people exerting this kind of control, it tends to be a pattern. I have been controlled, so now I will control. Not only do they learn it as a pattern of behavior, but because they were so hurt by being controlled, instead of doing the opposite, which is logical, you would think, and it's what so many of us try to do, we try not to be what we see. But even if we try not to do it, we don't know anything else, because that is what has been modeled to us. That's what's ingrained in us. So it's this model of I have been controlled, so now I will control. And that kind of that makes sense to me, especially in the work that I do and what I see. Okay, so that really covers off what a narcissist looks like, the main things. So what do you do? Well, I think that what they say is narcissists, they really struggle to have healthy relationships. And for the majority of narcissists, if you are a person with a strong sense of your own, a strong foundation of your own values, your own self-confidence, you're not going to date a narcissist for long. What they say is that for a narcissist, many of their relationships don't last more than 4 months, because anyone savvy cottons on and just goes, I'm just losing myself in this relationship. This person doesn't care about me other than for what I can give them. That's what you have to remember. For a narcissist, it's all about what can you do to support them to get their aims, their ends. They don't care about you at all. So you can imagine if you start dating someone, for most of us, you're going to find that out about someone and just go, oh, no, that's horrible. Some narcissists are clever. They hide it. We know that there's this pattern of building people up, when they meet people, putting them on a pedestal so that they become disarmed. But also narcissists are very clever, and they tend to go for people who have low self-confidence themselves, which is why there's this pattern of praising them, putting them up on a pedestal, and then taking them down, because they know that they're not going to be able to cope with that. But if you end up in a narcissistic relationship, and this is what I help people do really in the work that I'm doing. Number one, a lot of what I do is helping children who have been subject to narcissistic parents with the traits that I spoke about yesterday, the ways that it affects them, how they have this complete undermining, they have no self-confidence, they don't believe in themselves. Most damaging, they don't believe that they deserve any more than they had, because they've been given this impression that they're somehow bad, they're worthless, they're only useful to someone for what they can do to them. That kind of, so that's the kind of patterning that we undo. But if you find yourself in a relationship with a narcissist and, they can stop it. Yeah, okay, now look, I'm just looking at, this is really, really interesting. Jane, who I'm getting to know in my group, that narcissists are not suffering from MH issues, mental health. It's not one, and they can stop it. Do you know, that's very, very interesting, because Jane, I was talking about this just before I came onto this live. And I understand what you're saying about it was helping you to believe it was an illness. But here's the very interesting thing. I don't have permission to share the story. I'm hoping that one day I will have permission to share this story. But I actually know someone who I'm pretty certain would have got classified as with NPD had they ever been assessed. Because, all right, I know enough to know that this person had spoke to some counsellors who had said that, yes, if they did an assessment, they probably would be assessed. They never went down that road, quite that road. But I can tell you that this lack of empathy was definitely there. And there were many other main traits that were there. And this person has done a 180, done an absolute 180. They are a completely different person. And I've been saying, how can this happen? How can you go from having no empathy, no care? Yeah, I know, I love that too. What I just love it. I think it gives us hope. I thought it was fantastic. I know what you're saying, Jane, about it would be nice. It kind of, in a way, you can just go, oh, they couldn't help it, but if they were choosing. But then you have to remember that if it's their blueprint from childhood, if it's the model, let's say it's a man and his father was like that, and it's his father that has taught him how to be a man. So in a way, it's not a mental health issue, but it is his blueprint. And for someone to change from that, what they've got to do is recognize. And this person that I'm talking about, what they recognize, suddenly they recognized that there was going to be a huge consequence to them. And they saw what the consequence was. Well, they felt it and experienced it. and went, I don't like this. This is awful. I don't want to be this way. I need to change. And they started looking at how different their life would be if they changed. And that's what they did. I, I am astounded because, as I say, I was saying just before this live, I was talking to someone else saying, I don't know who's done this. It's like the men that physically abuse. There's a really, really small percentage, like about 2% of them that will ever change, ever, But I think that we could do more with that statistic. I really do. I think with everything we know these days about anger and how so much anger is rooted in hurt. And for most people, it's the hurt of abuse when they were a child. I think that if we start working on that, we could change that figure. But yeah, this turnaround in this narcissist, I like that, Jane. Thank you for posting that. I'm really sorry for you. It was helping you to believe it was an illness. But maybe it helps you also to realize that there is hope out there, and that if we change our approach towards mental health, and we start seeing that people have a blueprint, that they are a product of their environment and their upbringing and their role models, and if they want to, that's the big key here. This person wanted to. They didn't do it for anyone else. They did it totally for themselves. So that's a bit narcissistic as well, isn't it? So it's like they didn't look and say, oh, this person's really suffering, so I need to change because I'm causing this suffering. What actually happened was they went, oh my goodness, if I don't change, I am seriously going to suffer. So it's very interesting that there's even a narcissistic, totally non-altruistic approach to the change in itself. But hey, do we really care? Because then once they start to shift and change, but yeah, just full on empathy, appreciation of feelings. I mean, yeah, bizarre. I mean, I'm really glad. I'm glad that I know about this. I do think it's interesting, and I'm definitely going to study it further. But that got me totally off track. Let me go back. What I was saying was, if you end up in a relationship with a narcissist, and this ties into what I've just been saying, okay, the best thing you can do is take control. And the hardest thing about this is, once you've done a load of personal development and you're really secure and you're self-confident and you really can just step out there as the genuine, authentic you, and not care about your narcissistic partner, or not care about so many things, and just be full on confident and loving who you are, you can take that control. But it's very, very difficult to take control when you are terrified of upsetting someone. You can't handle the gaslighting. You've got a trauma bond going on. You've got all these emotions you're trying to deal with. Then trying to take control is obviously very difficult. But what you will find, and it doesn't have to be all at once, just small steps, small things, because what you'll find, obviously, the narcissist, they're not strong people. They're cowards and bullies. They're hiding behind their own lack of self-esteem. They're trying to keep you small because they're jealous. They want you to envy them, where really they're jealous of you. They're jealous of who you might become and what you might do. And then they know that you're going to leave them behind. So if you think of narcissists as extremely powerless people instead of powerful people, and you take steps, it's like I said, one of the things I said was that they expect unquestioned compliance. If you don't do that, they don't know what to do. They really struggle, because they feel so hurt. So immediately they get so deflated. It's so easy to take the wind out of their sails. They won't spend time with anyone strong, because they just don't know what to do with them. So that's my best tip. It's the only tip. So with a narcissist, you either leave and agree that you can never win, know that you will never win unless you get that 180 that I was just telling you about, that I'm just astounded by, that I've never heard of before. But you won't win. So don't waste your effort. Don't waste your effort trying to get them to love you or trying to get them to appreciate you other than as a means to their own end. That is all you are. If you're happy with that, if you can live with that, for some people, the narcissistic relationship works. You know, for some women who've got a narcissistic husband, but he earns loads of money, he's not there much, they've got a great life with their family, their friends, and they've got what they want and need, that's great. You know, we all have different things that we want and need out of life. And if what you've got to the point where what you need is your family and financial security, and you're not worried about the love or anything else, yes, I love this. Yes, Anastasia, wonderful. Thank you. It's a personality disorder. They can change if they start loving themselves. Yeah, fantastic. The problem with that, of course, is that they do love themselves. They love themselves. Well, they think they do. They think they do. They don't. They often don't realize, because they see themselves as more important and better. And hi, Gay. It's nice to see you on here too. Because they see themselves as better and more important, and like more elevated than other people, it's very difficult for them to know that they don't love themselves. And if you suggest to a narcissist most of the time that they have low self-esteem, or that they don't love themselves, that's very foreign to them. And I think absolutely that's what you've said here. Okay, it's hard for them to accept themselves as less than perfect. Exactly. So they don't seek help because they don't see the need. Exactly. They think they're perfect as they are. Yeah, that's why most of them. So I think that's yeah, we've had some great comments there. Thank you so much. That was Anastasia and Jane Graham. Thank you so much for your contribution. That's why I like to wear my glasses, so I can see them as they come up. Okay, but my best advice there, you know, if the relationship is working for you, if you've got what you need from it, if you're not feeling constantly hurt, put down, all those things, then great. But if you're looking for genuine love, connection, commitment, you're not going to get it. So don't waste your time, and just take some control. Take control until you can leave. Just be strong, really. Stand up to them. Start to question. Start to refuse to be and do what they want and need. And really, they lose all their power. They don't know what to do with that. Or I'm definitely going to explore more about this other situation that I know about, where this person has done this 180, which is really quite incredible. And I think we'll do some more on that later.